going on, y'all? It's LJ, and it is late spring in the northeastern United States, and that means it's a really busy time. Starting to come out of winter hibernation, but still it doesn't change the weather. Do you know what I mean? It goes from 55 degrees and sunny one day, and it allows you to get on those projects that have been eating at you all winter because you didn't do them last fall. Things like lemon trees, getting firewood ready for next winter. You just get to get out there and enjoy it. But watch out, because the next day it's 22 degrees and you got 6 inches of snow. And that just is what it is. That is spring. That is late April in the northeastern United States, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Anything about it. Right down to wild turkeys running around on the homestead. That, to me, is supper. But it doesn't change the fact that you still got time to spin records. You gotta wind down and dig in the collection. And so with a vinyl update on deck, I thought I'd step aside for a minute and share with y'all what's been spinning in the month of April. Dig it. And so first out of the gate, here's an album I absolutely love from 1986. It's Crimson Glory, and this is their debut, and this is an original pressing on Par Records. Now, in a year that gave us a sickening speed of Slayer's Rain and Blood, and the heavy thrash excellent of Megadeth's Peace Sells, But Who's Buying, and Metallica's Master of Puppets, Crimson Glory dropped this now classic US power metal debut, rooted more in traditional heavy metal than the Dungeons & Dragons themes of Queensryche, The Warning at the time. This actually has more in common with something like Fate's Warning, The Spectre Within, or maybe even Metal Church's debut around that 84-85 era. Hugely talented. Every single track on this album is absolutely memorable, and it is absolutely outstanding vocally. Par for the course, Jeff Tate-ish kind of vocals, constantly varied drum work, and fantastic riffs. This is another album where the cover pretty much says it all. And now let's shift effortlessly to 1988, just a couple of years around the corner. Here is Pantera, and man, this one just stands on an island. This is Pantera's power metal. 3 glam metal albums behind them, and a handful of groove metal albums ahead of them. And this is Phil Anselmo's debut with Pantera. I know Phil Anselmo has made headlines lately, but whatever, that's his problem. This is Pantera minus the glam, minus the groove, and aimed right at the jugular. It stops just short of thrash, and it's way too heavy to be MTV metal. And this is an original pressing on Metal Magic Records. It's not quite speed metal, it's definitely not power metal in anything but name. It's just straightforward heavy metal, and it's got Phil's shredding vocals and Dimebag Darrell's wild leads. Was he even known as Dimebag then? I don't think he was. This one just rips from start to finish, nearly everything that blew them through the roof on Cowboys from Hell 2 years later, and that's an album I love, is foreshadowed right here. And unfortunately, they never sounded like this again. Check it out. Now, most of these albums I've already shown you in vinyl updates or thread responses or whatever, but that's not the point here. Again, the point is this is what's spinning, because it's not always the stuff that's just come through the door. Otherwise, what's the point? You gotta spin the stuff you have, including the 2014 debut from the Spanish new wave of traditional heavy metal band that I absolutely love, Hitten. This was included in my best of 2014 list a couple years back. And it's been in rotation once again because, well, A, it's freaking killer, and because B, the new album is due out on vinyl finally in May. Now, Hitten was formed in Spain in 2011, and anyways, this was the first full length, which I pre-ordered directly from one of the band's guitar players, Danny. Now, no need to guess the influences because they sprawled them right on the cover for you. Aitor's clean vocals and the 6-string trade-off ripping leads and dual harmonies from both guitar players who also happen to both be named Danny. Fierce, fiery, flashy, amazing, and faithful to that 80s heavy metal spirit. This is what the new wave of traditional heavy metal is all about. Speaking of records I've shown in the past, from 2008, here's Dokken's Lightning Strikes Again. And this is proof that you can knock, but you can't keep a great band down. Now, with Don Dokken at the mic, and Wild Mick Brown at the drum kit, like always, this is the second full length with John Levin on guitar and Barry Sparks on bass. Long missing on vinyl. Nuclear Blast Germany finally released this. It had to have been 3-4 years ago, 2012 maybe I got this. Has a 2LP limited pressing, and this is on white vinyl. I pre-ordered this one the second I found out about it, and I never regretted it. It sounds fantastic. I love this album. Now, it's not a perfect 10, but thankfully it's only slightly modern sounding. There's enough classic MTV style Dokken here to satiate, and a couple of ballads that, man, they're not my style, but it's just par for the Dokken course. Terrific, terrific album. Now this guy from 1989, this is Diving for Pearls, and this was a dollar bin find ages ago. I just never got around to spinning it. So to that extent, this is the first time I've played it. Now, the needle, I knew what I was in for here, right? It's gonna be kind of melodic hard rock. But the needle drops, and just instantly we've borrowed Def Leppard's Photograph, and the song quickly turns into Journey's Any Way You Want It. And the rest of the record pretty much runs that same playbook. And it's not a bad playbook. It's just not anything you haven't heard before. And when it showed up for $1 or $2, whatever, okay. So what did I learn? I learned that Diving for Pearls is a good listen. It's a one and done band that dropped off the face of the earth until I read 2006. Now, I never heard the follow-up, but this one's solid. It's by the books, it's late 80s melodic hard rock, complete with some flashy solos, big old vocals, and a slower track or two about a broken heart and ways to duct tape that thing back together again. Here, you check it out.
You're all I need. I'll do anything, baby, just to make you see it. Now I know, and it's for sure. Baby, I got the fever. You got the cure. Anyway you want it, that's the way you'll get it. Anyway you want it to be.
Now the next one isn't a dollar bin find, and it's not one I'm likely to ever find on my own. And from 1984, it's Eloy's Metromania. Start with the cover. Just start with the cover. Why vinyl? That's why. That's why vinyl. Yeah, it sounds better. Well, just 12 inches by 12 inches. Your device can't do that. Artist Rodney Matthews is to Tigers of Pantang, Diamond Head, and Eloy and more what Derek Riggs is to Iron Maiden. Artwork like this on a mobile phone should be considered a sin by the Catholic Church. Just a big question mark in its place until you own the physical album. Now this copy came from electronic music synth wizard Bruno Enderle, who is fully responsible for igniting an obsession with this band. 80s synth-driven progressive rock albums come no finer than this one. Catchy beyond belief, colorful, accessible. Many say Eloy was done by this point. I think it's the best of its genre. Let's just stare at the cover together. Shh. What do you mean there's a glare on the screen? Hey, last time I checked, I didn't get paid for this stuff, and you didn't pay anything to watch it. Shh. Now, you know it's getting close to summertime when the country albums start coming out more and more. And from 2008, here's Jamey Johnson's That Lonesome Song. So let's be honest, 99.9% of today's country music most closely resembles warm dog snot. And I'm being nice. That said, Jamey Johnson is one of the few new, true, count them on one hand, blue, collar, red, white, and you, old school country artists left in the world doing it today. That's it. This album is 8 years old and 38 years young at the same time. From the muted organ keys, Allman Brothers feel of Mowing Down the Roses, to the goosebump-inducing pedal steel guitar of The Door Is Always Open, to the accidental radio hit of In Color, to the tears in the beers of The Last Cowboy, Jamey aims his guitar at heaven. He nods to Waylon, and he downs a night's paycheck in Cold Ones. This is one of the best outlaw country albums released in the last 15 years, period. Power, speed, thrash, prog, synth, new wave of traditional heavy metal, country, and new wave of British heavy metal. May as well, we're here. From 2015, here's Goldsmith. This high roller strikes gold once again by pulling together yet another top shelf release that collects everything and obscure, you know you've never heard of them, and neither have I, and that's a crime in itself, new wave of British heavy metal band ever recorded. Stick a couple commas in there. A little tamer than an Angel Witch, and more heavy rock than heavy metal, and that's just fine, because this is packed wall to wall with that classic new wave of British heavy metal sound. Fantastic leads from Pete Adams and vocals from Pez Hodder. These compilations never cease to amaze me. This one's no exception, and if it's truly possible to spin the grooves off a record, this one will be as smooth as glass in no time. Check it out. Covered all those other genres, let's cover something that may as well just tread black metal. And from 2015, this is Tribulation. Think Possessed, maybe Sepultura, maybe Entombed. Now this came as a very kind gift from fellow YouTuber JC. I wasn't sure what to expect headed into this one. The cover says dark and foreboding. I've been had by covers in the past. But knowing this was JC's favorite album of 2015, like he wrote right there, and with Enforcer's ex-guitarist Adam Zars on leads, there was no keeping it off the turntable. It just boiled down to time. Dark and atmospheric. Adam's leads, they're not as flashy as they were in Enforcer, but it's not that kind of metal, and that wouldn't fit here. But Adam does add a ton of melody, which combined with the Possessed-type vocals, creates a really cool, fantastic, and unique album that pulls no punches in setting its course. I'll definitely be looking for more Tribulation in the future. Man, thanks for the introduction, JC. Loved it. Right back to standard heavy metal. From 1989, here's Loudness. And here we have Soldier of Fortune. Now, Obsession's Mike Viscera, what a phenomenal vocalist, joins the fold on vocals, and man, can the guy wail. Not hugely distinct, but powerful enough to carry an album that's a bit of a change in direction from the MTV metal of the day. Loudness has always updated their sound to keep up with the times, not unlike a whole lot of other bands. And this is a fantastic album. Top shelf shredding and solos as always, and that's what you'd expect from Akira, and plenty of catchy, heavy tracks. A couple of syrupy ballads kind of drag the middle of the record down a bit, and while they aren't necessarily bad, man, it's when those faster paced tracks hit and the band opens up, you just wish the whole damn record sounded like that. Still a killer listen, and one that's always very cool to pull off the shelf every once in a while. So as we continue to move all over the musical map, why not just do a little dance around the globe while we're at it? Because we all know that the best late 70s AOR comes from... Oh wait, submit your answer. It comes from South Africa, of course. Well, in this case it did. So, late 70s AOR from South Africa. I dropped the needle on this blind buy out of the dollar bin. It may have been $1 or $2 right away. I hear Styx. I hear Boston. I hear Foreigner. I hear a touch of early to late 70s, 3 years before Eye of the Tiger Survivor. Moxie may actually be a decent comparison in some terms when it comes to heaviness as well. Not that the whole record is Moxie level heavy, but it's there. I hear so much, I'm just gonna let you hear it. Check it out.
I make some circles in Hollywood, living fast, I live high, it never did no good. I'm slowing down just to find my feet, 'cause my mind's growing tired and my body's weak. Everyone thinks it's easy, but I wouldn't wanna be there if I could start over again.
Alright, time to wrap it up and put April to bed, because finding time to spin this month, again, it's been challenging. From 1989, here's a second Lou Gramm solo release, Long Hard Look. As a frontman for Foreigner, Lou's voice dominated radio in the late 70s and even the early 80s, and he'd not lost a step by 1989 with this album. This was a recent gift from fellow YouTuber Jeffrey Rusnock. Thanks, Jeff. I was familiar with his solo debut from '87, but this was an album I'd not heard or seen before. I just had never come across this one in the shop. He's backed up on guitar, which I didn't know at the time, by a post-Dio, pre-Def Leppard, Vivian Campbell. How cool is that? Now this is straight, keyboard-filled, slightly bluesy AOR, and like Lou Gramm's debut, it could easily have been another solid late 80s Foreigner album. All you'd have had to do was just like cross off Lou Gramm and just write Foreigner, F-O-R-N-E-R, right? Foreigner, another Foreigner, fantastic stuff. Jeff, thanks again. And just like that, now you know what I've been spinning in April. Again, on deck a vinyl update, but what'd you think of all this? What have you been spinning in April? What are you gonna be spinning in May? What'd you think of any of these? Any recommendations or suggestions? Leave them below. That's what it's all about. That's why you can type down there. That's the point. Catch you all in the next video. Later.